surfing with the alien there, goes into the distance. So they're going to start up the show officially now on Gateway to Rock. And as I said, I've got special guests in tonight. Kimberli, local band at the moment in Basildon. She has recently moved here, didn't you, Kimberli?
Yeah, I've moved from North London, yeah.
And welcome, first of all, to everyone to Gateway to Rock and Gateway 97.8. And as I got to say, this is the first live session I've had since the pandemic started. This has been 2 years almost now, hasn't it?
Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
It's fantastic to have a band again in the studio, tell you what. It's almost been 2 years. And Kimberli, usually my first question for a band and the name of the band that sort of doesn't apply to you, but maybe it does, I don't know. So Kimberli is the name of the band as well, as it is your name as well, Kimberli with an I, right?
Yeah.
But you were telling me there's actually is a story behind the name of the band.
Yeah, so the name of the band, when we've performed at other festivals, has been Kimberli and the Comets. We performed at Wanstead Festival under the name Kimberli and the Comets. And that was kind of taken from the from David Bowie and the reference to the Ziggy Stardust band. So I was inspired during that period, and I thought, why not go with it, because anybody could be a comet, and I'm sure I'll meet lots of comets along the way. So if you want to take your audition tonight, I'm going on tour next year, so feel free.
Fantastic.
to let me know.
That's a good thing. We're going to actually have a chat about that. We're going to talk about live gigs, and that will bring us nicely into my next question about first of all, how long have you been a band with the boys here?
Yeah, so that's part of the other story as well. I have been working with Chris and Nigel I was thinking about this, but for about four years now, maybe coming up to 5 even. Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And we started. I was doing maternity cover for a covers band, and so the usual lead singer there in the covers band that is still going. It's called the Blue Hearts. I was doing some maternity cover. Met with Nigel, and we also have Ken, the bassist. He's not here, but hello, Ken, if you're listening. And we just created a nice, lovely group. We slowly started to work on original music, both me as a solo and with Nigel. Nigel was the creative director of Algan House, and
we got a song from that you've got in the playlist for today.
We do. So Algan House, White Rose is the song that we'll be singing first of all, and that is from the debut album, The Zone of Silence. So. If you would like to, if Nigel can tell us a little bit more.
Well, we'll come back to that, I think, because you're going to be performing that later on in the show. So we'll come back to that. My other question is, we talked about the band and how you got involved, you got involved with all of this. So you said maternity. Is that sort of like babysitting a band sort of thing?
I guess so.
We got Chris nodding here, yeah.
It's such a great help because, you're always worried about, you don't want to drop a singer who's having a baby, but it's very difficult for them to carry on when they've got the children and everything else.
Yeah.
So we decided to keep the band together, and Kimberli arrived, and she slotted in, and as a result of that, we've sort of done little side projects and working through it. We kept together. So and in fact, as you say, the lockdown didn't help with keeping everything together, but I mean, it's been one of the issues, and that we've all sort of worked on our little projects together.
Yeah,
that's another thing about, since I did say that this has been almost 2 years now that I was able to have a live band in the studio. It's been quite tough on performing artists, hasn't it? This thing. From your experience, did that sort of stop you? Did you get more creative during this time? Is that where this album came along?
Yeah, absolutely. I reached out to Chris and I said, Chris, I can't stand it any longer. I've not been able to perform. It's really affecting me. And he actually dropped off a mic stand. Do you remember? You dropped off a mic stand because I was doing live streaming, and I'd done a charity gig for online live stream for War Child UK. So that was during the time when we were raising money for the children in Yemen because of the crisis over there, and also having been affected by the COVID. So that was nice, a nice contribution, and I continued kind of writing and working with some of the music that Chris had been creating during that time as well, and we just kind of merged some of the ideas, and it was really lovely to be able to have something started.
Well, I was locked in my studio, with no one else. I couldn't have anybody else in or anything like that. So I think I did about 120 tracks, just ideas, and Kimberli's picked up on a few, and that's where they come from. So,
is that how Science of Pleasure came around? Like a collaboration between your music, Chris, and your lyrics? I would
absolutely,
say.
So I kind of started slowly picking out some of the tracks with the the vibe and the genre that I wanted to kind of then develop on, and slowly recording extra kind of sound bites and sending over tracks and clips to Chris, and said, hey, can we add this, can we work this in some way, and also sending rough draft of vocals as well over the email and things. So it was really nice to be able to work remotely. However, we didn't have it as tuned in as the Rolling Stones with their fixed IP address. No.
Oh yeah,
otherwise
I saw
we
that.
all would have been on the camera.
Well, we had a folder on my thing. It said Kimberli distant recording. That was where it all was put.
Is that where Zoom came in a lot? That sort of thing.
In a way, but I mean, we just sent the files across.
So we just exchanged the files, and it developed. And honestly, as soon as we had, apart from moving in between, but as soon as we had the opportunity to get back in, I think all of us jumped back into it, and we really loved the idea of getting back into it. Nigel had loads of ideas for working on our other side projects, so we came straight in.
Well, we've got another 2 albums.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of material.
Well, that's the trouble is you've got now the opportunity, as you say, of trying to get it out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody puts it on Spotify and everything else, but the point is, live music is the thing to get it out.
Yeah.
And again, playing to an audience is so much better. I've done so many Zooms, and you can hear the faint claps of 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
That's
not right.
That's why I like to do this with the show and get in local bands. Now, I know my show is Gateway to Rock. I do tend to do a bit heavier stuff on here as well, but I do like to bring in also bands that are a bit more bluesier, like and jazzier. I would characterise your Kimberli's kind of music as very sort of bluesy. I've been known to play some blues on Gateway to Rock. Yeah, why not? As I was going to say also about the Zoom thing. I know I was joking about it, but there is a lot of musicians and stuff started doing remote stuff, also performing live as well through things like I don't know if you know about Twitch TV and live streaming stuff and stuff like that. Did you ever think about doing anything like that during the pandemic, or was that something?
I had.
You did?
Yeah. So I did the War Child UK gig as a live stream, but I continued it. And so I was on a couple of streaming platforms doing mainly football because no one could go to watch the football collectively. So it was great. I felt like I was on Radio 5 Live. But as you know, I am also the speaker on the sports reporting brief on Gateway.
Because you have actually joined the ranks here at Gateway, haven't you?
A little bit I have, and that's another kind of feather to my hat. So I mean, just to keep up with the sports and my interest in sports, specifically football during the pandemic, I was streaming that, and it did branch out into other gigs. I spoke with the viewers. I spoke with the viewers about ideas into music and everything like that. So it was really, really nice to have that soundboard and have that space to create and be free.
Did any of you guys get into the whole live streaming thing?
one of my other projects is I run a music charity in our borough of Redbridge on East London, and the Redbridge Music Lounge, we put on shows and everything, live music, and we managed to do a lot of outdoor live festivals, and we streamed them through Facebook and on YouTube. And we had, lots of people couldn't get out. We were only limited to about 100 or 200 people in the park, in our space there, but we were able to live stream it, and up to 500 people watching it live on there. So it was really good. And now people are getting used to the fact that some of the things we're doing now, we can't play live outdoors, it's too wet and cold. We're now on Sunday, we're moving indoors, and we're doing another 5-hour live stream of live music going out there.
I mean, I know there have been venues that are opening now for gigs and things like that. Have you done any yet?
Yeah, our local tennis club is open because again, it's got doors open out to the tennis courts, and therefore legally you can actually have a gig there because you've got fresh air going through. We do feel that a lot of those pubs and clubs with downstairs dives, or so to speak, no fresh air or anything like that, they won't get a licence to operate. And it's
I know that theatres are also opened and stuff
They're
like that.
up,
So
What was that, Chris? What was that festival we did with Kim with Algenhorst when we performed the Zone of Silence?
Well, that was in the park.
Was that the Green Festival? And
It was in the festival.
When was that? July, wasn't it? Or August?
Yeah,
The
but
best
that's
of
when
the
it went
music
live.
fest,
Music fest.
Summertime, the best time to go out in the park, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been invited to do an open mic at the King's Head in Chingford, so hopefully we'll be doing that in December.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll see if you get a gig maybe around our neck of the woods here in Basel. That'll be good.
Steve was in just before, and he was telling me about Martin. So Martin from Chelmsford, a promoter, if you're listening, do get in touch. I'd love to have a chat with you.
Good.
Right, so I think we had a bit of a good introduction here with with Kimberli and the guys here. Should we go and listen to some music now? Is that? I think that's about time, isn't it? We got your first set. You're going to be doing a song by your other band, Organ House.
Organ House, yes.
Primus American Life from the 1992 album Sailing in the Sea of Cheese. But this is not what we're here for. We're here for Kimberli, and we just had a fantastic session of couple songs just played now. Gotta say, wow, even though you're half the band right now.
That's right, yeah.
So I gotta say, it was fantastic, and looking forward to actually listening to you live as in outside as well. That would be great.
I can't wait.
As in a live gig situation. So the two songs that you just performed was the first one that you did was from Organ House, and the second one was from your new album. Tell us a bit about Organ House.
Nigel, come on.
Oh, okay. Well, Organ House, the music really is kind of what you might think of as rock cabaret. We've got the first album, Zone of Silence, which is a kind of small scale concept musical, really. There's a narration in it as well that Ken Anderson does for us. And the second album, the London Phantasmagoria, that's been recorded too, and that's also a kind of mini concept.
Yeah, that's what
musical.
I was going to say.
Yes, it's got a concept musical
sort
vibe.
Of like a rock opera sort of thing.
Getting towards that stage,
absolutely,
certainly. So, and Kim plays characters. She plays characters in it. In different types of characters.
Yeah, the story behind the Zone of Silence is really quite interesting, because I think that all of us collectively, we are in some ways inspired, and we bounce our ideas and creativity kind of off of each other. So with the Zone of Silence, the story behind the women being locked up into kind of the madhouses and being somewhat disposed of by their husband in the Victorian ages, and so all of the cycles that kind of the woman within that space would go through is somewhat covered.
Well, I mean, each song is a different psychological condition, and White Rose was an example of one, which we can go. Well,
so is White Rose a character, or is that?
It's a symbol. White Rose is a Victorian symbol of fidelity. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Very, very deep. I do like that. I do like
It's
concert
very
albums and stuff
London-centric
like
as
that.
well.
Yeah, that's another thing.
We've got a kind of, if you like, a geographical
I'm
map. So
I'm
if any
a
of your
huge fan of psychogeography
if
as
your
well.
listeners want it,
Yeah.
we can kind of give you a copy of that, and you can see it and download
Yeah,
it.
maybe
and
we
follow
should
it.
contact John Rogers or Ian Sinclair, and they could do a YouTube video about it as well. So, John.
Wow. Yeah. So sounds great. So the second track you performed, X and Y.
Yeah.
Those are the chromosomes, aren't they?
They are. So, interestingly enough, so the first
Going into your lyricism now.
Yeah,
this is your
So,
own song from the new album, of course.
Yep. It's track one from the new album, and it talks about activism in the initial concept, and the first 5 lines came from a real life experience. It was freeze frame in a darkroom bar. The darkroom bar is a student bar based at the London College of Communications, where I was working at the time. And then it says Blue Moon shines campaign fortress. And Blue Moon is the name of a drink. The campaign fortress was the space. Ultimately, it was
It's a song as well.
So it was a play on words on the space. We were hosting a campaign evening about the new builds and regeneration in the area, and how that the university student union could help to support the local residents within that. And I felt very inspired, and rather than being an anarchist physically within the public realm, I thought, why not put it into a song? And from there it then developed into something about identity. So, strange stories, X and Y. The second verse is a lot about really kind of the development of self and psychology, and it has some antidotes back to my Irish heritage as well. So, yeah.
That's I sense a bit of a theme here, a bit of inspiration from
Exactly.
also from Nigel's lyricism and stuff from Organ House, and then carries on to your thing.
The thing
as well.
is, I actually as much as it has, but I've come from a science background, so I've studied cognitive science, and I've done biomed as well. So a lot of the interest within the sciences has fueled my artistry, whether or not that's the visual arts of the collages that I do, or my songwriting or my poetry. So it all feeds in, and it's really interesting to make it more kind of dynamic.
So is that generally how your songwriting process goes? Sort of you grab sort of sciencey things maybe all the time, or do you you can gravitate on anything really?
No, do you know, interestingly enough, so Season of the Witch, which we are performing at some stage, that piece of writing was created purely through collage. The lyrics were pulled from a magazine. It was a song that I wrote being inspired by Terry Reid's version of Season of the Witch. it's a 10-minute song. There's a solo from around the 6-minute mark, and in that solo period I created this kind of amalgamation collage of words that I picked from the magazines that I was reading at the time, and now for some strange reason it makes sense. And it's very relevant because there is a kind of revival of hippie culture, and I think it speaks to that.
So generally, that's your writing process. That's what it is. You just draw from inspirations that you get
so
from
many
there.
different ways.
And, so, I mean, I'm sure my listener would be very interested as well. How does one get down to write a song?
It's
like, I mean, I can't write a song.
So what's... Okay, with X and Y, it was the first 2 lines that came to me with the melody, and my way of keeping that and holding on to it is to scream for my phone, even if I'm alone at home. Like, where's my phone? I must record that now.
So is that, do you think like of a riff or something like that, melody, and then you attach a lyric to it, or
Absolutely,
do you attach a lyric, or do you make the lyric first and then attach the music to it?
So sometimes I've created the melody first and then listened back to it and then realised that I've now got lyrics that come to the forefront of my mind. but interestingly enough, I've also created a chorus, and then I've gone into my own solo, which in my mind, and I've then recorded that and allowed that to kind of form into something. Or
so that would be like coming up with the lyrics and the music at the same time.
100%.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? That's very interesting. So we've got another couple of tracks, another couple of songs that you're going to perform in a bit, and those are. Which one have we got? Oh, we got The Doors next, haven't we?
Yeah.
So
Big
People
fan.
Are Strange.
Mr. Mojo himself.
One of my favourite tracks from the Doors, I think. For me, I think because I'm a little bit strange as well, so it sort of relates to me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's good to be strange, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Don't you agree?
I definitely think that a lot of the during the period of the pandemic, with hidden disabilities coming to society more and more, I think really I resonated and chose this song specifically because it speaks to a lot of people for that reason. And also this song inspired some of the lyrics and the style of another song on the album called Feeling Strange. So, yeah.
And you chose for the second song on this set. We've got the single. This was the first single that came out from the album Fiend.
Yeah.
And you know what? This song is played all the time on Gateway.
Really?
Because we actually have it as our local artist on the library here, so it gets played quite often here on Gateway 97.8.
Thanks, Ross.
So, should we get prepared for that? And during that time, when you're getting all tuned up and all that stuff for the next set, I don't know what I was doing when I was planning other music for this show, because this is another Greek band. It's Socrates Drank the Conium, and the song called Starvation from the very first album from 1971. And before that, the one, the only Frank Zappa and Uncle Remus. And before that, Kimberli.
Sorry. I'm only going to blow the bloody doors off.
So, fantastic little set there indeed. So we just heard from you The Doors and People Are Strange, one of my favourite songs. I know it's one of the Doors more... I suppose the Doors did do a lot of shorter songs as well, but this is one of my favourites from them. I don't know, maybe because I'm strange as well. Yeah. Is that one of the reasons why you picked this one and you enjoy this song particularly?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Doors as well. I am a little bit addicted to watching very old rock and roll documentaries as well. So we've also in the covers band in the Blue Hearts, we've done a Doors Mr. Mojo track as well. So I've kind of used some references from the Doors and picked a few pointers from them. You know, you've got to learn from these lovely people who are great teachers of music.
Well, I don't think they would consider themselves teachers. They would just say, well, we'll just do what we're doing here. And, you know, I don't know what Jim Morrison would say if he was still around now, but about what's going on in the world with... we were just talking about music industry and stuff. I don't know if we should be talking about this, but we're just talking about that off the mic just now, about music industry and stuff like that. Yeah. It's a very different landscape now than it was like in the 70s, 80s, even the 90s, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, you know, the activist side of me, not only in my songwriting, but personally, I like to stand up for the right and also familiar topics, you know, to what my career is. And I'm definitely one that advocates for fair pay, streaming rights, and all those things, all those good things, you know, safety at gigs, all of those things. It's really, really important. Many people, I recently commented on a YouTube video that was discussing the tragedy that happened at Astroworld a couple of days ago. And, you know, somebody commented and said that he didn't choose to be a role model. I'm referring to Mr. Travis Scott here. But actually, it comes with a job. You have, you have to stand by and have integrity when you are going into the industry. It might not be something that you choose to do, but you have to keep the safety and the well-being of all of your listeners, gig goers, all of those people as priority. You know, there's been plenty of examples of other bands who have done the right thing, and I think this is it's an interesting turn of events that will definitely generate a conversation for positive change.
Yeah, you said it all. I can't add anything to that. Let's talk about the music. Let's talk about Fiend.
Sure. Yeah, so Fiend is track 4.
We just heard that.
Yeah, track 4
that was
from the album.
also, as I said, it gets played quite a lot on
Thank you.
Gateway
Thank you,
here
thank you.
on the
Yeah.
daytime shows, as
Very
it's
good.
on our playlist here. It does get quite a bit of airtime, as I know that. So that was your first single, and I remember I did actually play it on when I interviewed you a few months ago, wasn't it, on Drive Time?
Yeah, you were covering Drive Time that day. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Fiend. Why was that your first single? How does one choose a single? Let's say.
Okay, so I like the process of choosing a single. I thought that it was released in May. I thought it was quite nice. It was kind of coming off the back of spring into the summer. You know, the summer of love, kind of, it was the reopening, festivals were happening. I thought it was an interesting track to release, considering that it had very some kind of sensual and erotic undertones as well. So I think it would have appealed to the listener. And yeah, so that was my choice of deciding to do that.
On the record, it does sound when we heard it here live, because obviously we just have the two wonderful guitarists in the studio right now.
Amazing.
It sounds a little bit more bluesy than on the record, because on the record it sounds bluesy / sort of jazzy, sultry, you know, that sort of thing. There's a bit more going on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to do a stripped back session today. Just so we can really kind of talk more about the formation and the creative processes as well. But I do encourage everybody to kind of go and listen to The Science of Pleasure. It's on all streaming platforms, so yeah.
Indeed. And the music for Fiend, was that something from you, Chris? Or?
Well, what happened was in the pandemic, I got a little WAV file from Kim's phone, and I loaded it up on the screen, and we worked from that, and that was the exciting process. That's
little bit of humming there on the microphone.
Was it that key, and that was the key, and D flat was the key, so that's what we go with. But it was working, and then you build it up.
Some drum. Like I was trying to, because I was going with, because there was a track that we didn't include actually, and we're going to release it at another stage, but we have 2 or 3 versions of that song, which is Some Like It Hot, and the same thing happened with Fiend. I remember in April or something, we had worked, or even last year, we'd worked on a guitar riff with Nigel. I said, Nigel, I've got this track, I was working on it with Chris, can we maybe get you to come in and do a riff? And we played what we'd worked with around about whenever we had a break. It was June or July last year when we had the gap. And so Nigel kind of worked on a riff there, and it sounded good. I said, keep that, we'll hold that, and we'll try and get it down when we can. And then we went back into lockdown.
It's interesting you're saying about musicians and playing in a different way. One of the things about live musicians is they never really play the same twice. You know, I think my classic example is when Eric Clapton plays. Everybody wants to go along and hear him play Layla like he did, and he never does. He plays it how he wants to play it that particular evening. Even the band don't know sometimes how he's going to approach it.
Also,
and that's what creative musicians are like. They like doing that. They don't want. They're not
a lot
robots.
of the musicians, especially as well, that as you mentioned, Clapton, you know, come out from the 70s and stuff like that. You went to a gig and you heard like a 17-minute solo. You know, that you don't hear that anymore, do you, at gigs, or do you? I don't know.
I don't know. You should come to my shows.
Do you do that?
No.
Well, if we had the time, I think we probably would.
Would you go up and do a 17-minute guitar solo?
It's interesting what you say there. With the Algan House thing, it is a thing you should put on at the beginning and it goes right through to the end. So it's a 35-40 minute performance. So it's not something really that you can just
it's a concept album.
Yeah. And I think that when I'm working with lots of musicians now, they're getting the idea. They're fed up with people just punching in one song, listening to it for 20 seconds, and then going on to the next one. You know, I think they're saying we spent all this time putting this together. And the concept album, I think it's going to start evolving again.
Do you think that
ideas,
the audience, I don't want to criticise the audience here, but I'm going to criticise the audience. Do you think that people's attention span gets a little bit, has gone a lot less now, and they don't have the patience for like 17-minute solos now?
Well, hopefully the lockdown has made people think, well, we've got time to listen now.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas before, you know.
Yeah, I mean, 17. I wouldn't listen to 17 minutes.
No.
I mean, it's.
I know. I'm just exaggerating.
Yeah, I know.
but,
It depends on the structure and the relevance of what you're playing. If it's, you know, it's the third Algenhus album that we've got coming out called 7 Ages of Man. There's 7 songs. Each song's a kind of classic rock genre, with towards the end one of them being a prog rock song.
Yeah.
So you know, and that's called I Have a Child, and that's kind of might meet your 17-minute criteria.
well, what I'm coming from
really
is like in the 70s and the 80s, bands did live gigs and they took the time to do solos.
Yeah.
And also they took the time to do, on the drums, you know, and they do a drum solo, and on the bass, do a bass solo, you know. I don't think you see that much nowadays, but now that we're coming out of lockdown, we might start seeing it again.
Well, again, it depends on the skill of the person playing. I mean, if you 20 minutes of a bad drummer, it's going to be purgatory, isn't it? I think that again, it depends.
Yeah.
If we got John Bonham, we'd have listened to it.
Exactly. That's what I was going to. That's what I was going to bring up as an example.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about influence. We've got to talk about old music and talked about the Doors.
Yeah.
Influences, musical influences for you specifically, and for the boys here. They're a bit older, so the influences might differ there. But what are your musical influences? I know that you've got a lot of jazzy, a lot of sort of bluesy things in this album.
I don't know where to start right now, but I will tell you I've been listening to the Yardbirds a lot recently. And I think for my birthday, I put together like a huge kind of rock playlist on Spotify that I shared with Nigel, because they mentioned a couple of tracks that Nigel hadn't heard. So I think, you know, I mentioned for the current album, I referenced the Doors, I referenced Terry Reid. Huge fan of the story of CBGBs, and you know, Debbie Harry bought her biography on audiobook and listened to that. You know, and just
audiobooks, fantastic, aren't they?
They are great.
Love them.
So I think there's just been huge influences, whether it's from mainstream. I'm a huge fan of the kind of Australian indie resurgence that's now come around, as well as the Irish resurgence. Being Irish myself, I love bands like the Murder Capital and Fontaines DC. I'm a big fan of Idols and things like that. But as well as, you know, I think it's really nice, going back to your point earlier about kind of standing up for the right representation within the industry. And I think as well there's a huge scheme to have women at the forefront, you know, to have more female headliners at larger festivals and things like that. So, you know, I'd like to kind of say that I listen to Goat Girl, and I listen to Snail Mail and other female-fronted bands like that. There are a few from the past, but you know, Patti Smith, she's coming out again. she's doing a tour, so yeah, it's nice.
And as you said, a lot of old sort of bands and stuff like that have started doing. I mean, I heard and I know it's a bit more heavy metal, but I heard that Motley Crue are going to do it too.
No way! I was actually listening to them the other day. Yeah.
So are you guys?
Well, I'll give you the example. My last CDs I bought was John Mayer's new one, Duran, which I think give you an idea there. And then I bought a compilation of chess records. You know, I mean, way back when I meant so R&B and everything. I mean, there's no one. You can't pigeonhole me into any one particular thing, and that's the beauty of the songwriters and players. If you actually are influenced by a whole degree of different things, all that comes out in the mix.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and I don't favoritise in any particular way in anything young, old, modern. It's good music is all I go by, and
absolutely.
that doesn't necessarily mean good that everybody enjoys it, but it's if it's done with integrity.
Nigel?
I like stories in the songs,
Yeah.
you know, so that's why I like Kim's voice, because Kim's voice is, you know, very authentic and quite original, you know. She's got a character voice, so you can look at, I know Kim has mentioned her own influences, but when I listen to Kim, I'm hearing kind of distant sort of cabaret artists or Eartha Kitt or people like that, you know.
Yeah.
So I like people like Scott Walker, where you've got supreme kind of orchestrated pop with well-crafted lyrics, that kind of thing. But again, like Chris, you know.
You referenced me to Edith Piaf one time at rehearsals.
Well, Piaf, for sure. Because because the way you perform, you know, and the kind of delivery you give it, the attack that you give your vocal, you know.
Thank you.
On the stage, Kimberli, do you do a lot of body language performance as well?
I am. Yeah, I'd say
character.
so. Yeah, in character, I definitely. That's
Especially when you're performing Organ House.
Especially when I'm doing the Organ House stuff, because I know, you know, it's like having a brief. We've discussed it being somewhat of a cabaret, so I know that. But you know, as with any performance, as with any live gig, it's part of the experience for the viewer, for the listener. So you have to be. You know, it's rock and roll.
Exactly. Well, I know that you can't. The listener at home now can't see Kimberli how she moves. She's moving her hands all over the place. You know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good. This is radio. We should put a camera. No, we won't go to put a camera. Nobody wants to see my ugly mug. Anyway, should we go with the next set now, guys? We got another couple of tracks now. Next couple of tracks are both covers of bands that you love. This is another thing that came through.
This is so the first song is Soft Cell. It's Tainted Love. A huge fan of kind of that romantic era of Soft Cell and the synths and Human League and all the stories of, you know, the kind of all of those things. And then the second track is a personal favourite and a new favourite for Nigel and Chris to play, I'm sure, is Terry Reid, To Be Treated Right. And the story behind that is, you know, I was looking at Glastonbury, the history of Glastonbury, and through there I found some other influences, which were Fairborn Convention and Can. So I kind of went back to really old references of rock and roll. So Terry Reid is a huge influence on some of my new music as well, yeah.
Sounds good. So, should we go and play them out?
Let's
Whilst
do
we
it.
go and get ready, going to put another very influential person here, Jimi Hendrix. Have you heard of that guy?
Can I just say that
Go on.
I watched John Rogers on YouTube yesterday, and he said that Jimmy Rogers performed in Wanstead, which is where I'm near where I'm from, and while he was walking through the Wanstead Park is where he came up with the melody for one of his tracks, Purple Haze. Yeah.
Right. Got to do a bit of David Bowie there. Ziggy Stardust, and that's the album, of course, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. What a title, right? What a title. And before that, a bit of Janis there, Janis Joplin, a classic track there. Me and Bobby McGee, sort of inspired from the Doors song that you played earlier. So I thought, you know, all that sort of era,
nice.
all sort of intermingled back then. So I'm back in the studio. Hello, welcome back.
Thank
A
you.
fantastic set there with the two covers there. We did talk about influences and stuff earlier, and we did talk about these two tracks, but did you know that you are also influencing other people? Maybe young musicians, or maybe older musicians that would like to, like me, be in a band. So I do know, well, from my experience back in the 90s when I was quite a lot younger, and we had this thrash metal band from school and stuff like that. I don't know if it was easier back then to make a band, but you just had some friends and you just went, let's have a band. We like the same music.
Yeah.
How was it for you to form a band? And do you have any advice for younger people?
So what I will say is I grew up on VH1 and MTV. I moved. I moved from Ireland in '98. So I was a huge Spice Girls fan.
Oh no, not me.
No. And so what I decided was that, you know, I wanted to audition for Simon Cowell's Pop Idol. They had a kind of teenage version, and I remember running downstairs. I sat my parents down on the sofa, and I said, "Right, this is what we're going to do. This is the song I'm singing. I've got all this confidence now because I'd featured on the CBBC program." Recently,
there's another story there.
Yeah, there's another story there. So yeah, in the video archive, I'm sure someone could find that footage. They decided to dress me up as J-Lo or something, I don't know, and I had to wear like high heels at a stupid age that I couldn't walk in them. But anyways, so I sat my parents down on this one evening, and I said, right, I really, really, really want to apply to be on the Pop Idol, and I'm going to sing Britney Spears.
Was that a reference to the Spice Girls? I really, really want.
No, but so I sat them down, and my dad was like, no, it's not for me, it's not working for me. So so I was a little bit heartbroken from his advice, but however, it stuck with me, and I really my plan B, of course, was science, because I had parents that really wanted me to kind of do well in my career. And arts wasn't really seen as a way of making money in our household.
It still isn't.
Yeah, I know. But however, we're here now. I kind of I definitely respected that. But I definitely going forth into college while I was doing my science degree, I found myself befriending a lot of the other creatives, and they found out that I had an interest in singing and other things and music. So I was the chosen person for everybody's music projects in college. That's to good. Be their vocal chorus, to do all of the kind of ad-libs and do all this different stuff for them. So I spent a lot of time with musicians in college, and I might have skipped a few science lessons to stay in the music studio too.
So your advice would be go and do it?
My advice would...
Don't do science. No.
My advice would definitely be, there's so many tools now. I think bringing it up to date, because that was back then, but bringing it up to date, there's so many tools now. There's so many free access to free DAWs, which you can get online and download. So, you know, whether or not it's GarageBand and you have access to a Mac or Apple and stuff, or it's something else, but there are so many different applications where you can learn to do mixing on virtual DJ and things like that. Mm-hmm. But also there's a bunch of kind of I want to say forums and stuff. I'm sure like the subreddits where people can kind of mix and mingle online. There's live streams where musicians will host other things and create a community.
And now that you mentioned that, there is a lot of with this technology thing going on, and then you can actually meet up with people that are living in other countries maybe, and you can do a collab over the internet, and there is that, I suppose, now. But I'm talking about the intimacy of being in a band, you know,
absolutely,
being all together in a room in a studio, and just trying to play a song for the first time, and then because that's an experience, isn't it, when you try and play with another four people, do a song, and it goes wrong, but it's all part of the learning process, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Part of the fun. So I don't know if you could get that easily now.
No, I think it's quite difficult, and I think it has to happen organically. I don't think gone are the days of orchestration. We've seen the likes of, you know, pop bands like Little Mix, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but you know, they've done extremely well, but I think that like the organic composition of band members is really important, as Chris kind of pointed to off of the mic. You know, he said that he had experiences when he was a kid and kind of putting bands together.
The thing is, when I was a kid, you know, you went into the music room at school and then played the instruments like that, but now you have to have permission. You can't just go in there.
Yeah.
You have to be a health and safety rule. Now, when
Yeah.
we set up amps in the old prefect's hut and things like that, I mean, you couldn't do that now. It just doesn't happen.
Do you think there's too many rules now?
Well, yeah. I mean, my son went through school recently, and I mean, I never went to a concert at all.
Yeah.
And he tried to form a band, but you weren't allowed in the music room at lunchtime, and that's what we were. And after school we'd be straight in there doing that, and that's how we did it. Youth clubs. We were in youth clubs on a Sunday night after church. We all got together. And we went to church because you could go to the youth club in the evening and play in a band.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we used to play in the church as well for the young kids are coming in and giving a band. But there are too many rules and regulations now to stop that. And that's one of the sad things I see.
I think
people are stuck in their bedrooms and communicating through technology, which is not the way to form a band.
I mean, the technology is good and it does help in a lot of things, but doing as you said, forming an organically formed band.
You've got to be in the same room.
Yeah, youth clubs have gone. I mean, gone are the days. I mean, I don't even know. I haven't heard of Brownies or anything. I used to go to the Brownies. It was great. I had all the youth clubs after church and everything too. And I think it's those kind of social interaction that we need. When we're forming music or forming bands to make music.
Nigel?
Well, it's the classic garage route for me. It literally was school and the garage. And to be honest, I wouldn't have wanted the school to organise it for me because rock and roll is about rebellion. So the last thing I'd have wanted would be to be in the music room.
That falls into my experience as well. We were friends at school, but we did our own thing outside of school.
Yeah.
And part of the joy of music is it brings friendships together.
Yeah.
Long friendships. I mean, Chris and I have been playing music together for 25 years. So
I can't see myself not being friends with these two. Honestly, I really, really can't. I thought to myself, and I had to make a promise to Nigel. I said, Nigel, if I'm going to be touring or doing anything, I said, I promise you, Algan House is still going to be there. Because we all have our different creative side projects and different things. And even when we came together as a band, we had our kind of hesitations, or there was anticipation in our first performances and creating the music, even laying down the first vocals. I was like, I don't know about this. So it happens to everyone, but I think just go with it and stick with it. That's kind of, because it will come naturally and it will all just fit together. If you're musically inclined, creatively inclined, do it. Just stick with it and continue.
Talking about friendships and being friends forever, sort of thing. What's the future hold for Kimberli? After this brand new album came out, fantastic work.
I had a call with someone who's hopefully going to help me with some promotion and stuff. So we're just going to kind of push some promo stuff.
Any gigs planned?
We've got a couple of kind of gigs coming up. I've got to hear back on some things that I've applied for, and stuff like that. So I can't expose too much right now. But there's definitely a few things in the pipeline. I'm making some plans to kind of go to a few other countries.
So,
one of the problems is that nobody's been playing gigs many, and all the major acts are really streaming. They'll go anywhere,
the
little
future.
clubs or anywhere. So they're taking up. They're desperate to play, and therefore, even people like Roger Daltrey are going to play a little club somewhere because he's desperate to play.
Yeah, I think I'd play at Basildon Golf Club at this rate.
Well, Kimberli, The Science of Pleasure came out on the 2nd of November. It's now, where can we find this?
You can find it everywhere. Deezer, Apple Music, Spotify. It's on YouTube as well. And you can find me everywhere under the name of Kimberli. Kimberli Artist is my Instagram. It's KIMBERLI. But if you search Kimberli, The Science of Pleasure, everything will come up. It's definitely there, and you're welcome to follow me on Instagram.
So we're coming to the top of the hour now, nearly 9 o'clock already. We got a bit of time though. Would you do one more song?
Oh, go on then.
Because I heard that you've got another single for this album, and that is sort of a. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
We did.
But it's sort of a supernatural one.
It's very much a supernatural one. I decided to release the album on the 2nd of November because it resonated with All Souls Day. and being of Irish heritage, it's during the season of Samhain. So I chose the 2nd of November, and I specifically chose this song to resonate with that period.
All right, let's do it then. You go get ready. I'm going to put a relevant song on. Yeah, I think it is. It's Cream and Strange Brew.